The following people were sentenced to death in 2023. July: Juan Francisco Inzunza, California. Inzunza was found guilty of killing 56-year-old Victoria Supola, who was discovered on June 3, 2014, half dead in her trailer. After being brought to Eisenhower Medical Center, Supola passed away in a few hours. Despite the fact that she was severely injured, blunt force injuries leading to a ruptured renal artery was found to be the cause of death. She identified Juan as the culprit to firefighters, paramedics, and a neighbor who discovered her. Before she passed away, Inzunza had been renting out a room in the trailer for a few weeks. For this murder, Inzunza got a sentence of 30 years to life in prison. While incarcerated, he murdered his cellmate in 2021, which led to him being sentenced to death. August: Facundo Chavez, Texas. The man found guilty of killing El Paso Sheriff Deputy Peter Herrera during a traffic check in 2019 has been sentenced to death by a jury. Herrera stopped Chavez and his partner Arlene Piña for 2 infractions related to driving. The infractions included not lowering the high beams on the vehicle and displaying a temporary license plate permit incorrectly. Chavez was asked to halt the car by Herrera. Without waiting, he exited the vehicle, took out his pistol, and fired a shot at Herrera. Chavez shot Herrera with the handgun at close range for around 15 rounds before the weapon jammed. Chavez then started using the gun to beat Herrera. As the officer lay critically injured in a pool of his own blood, the pair ran from the scene. After 2 days in the hospital, Herrera passed away. Later, while sheltering in a shed on the grounds of a nearby house, U.S. Border Patrol agents discovered Chavez and Piña. Throughout the trial, jurors were shown multiple times the gruesome recordings captured by Herrera's body camera, the dashboard camera of the patrol vehicle, and the body camera of another deputy during the shooting. At first, Piña was accused of capital murder, but as part of a plea agreement with former El Paso District Attorney Yvonne Rosales, the charge was dropped to manslaughter. Piña will remain incarcerated for 15 years. Robert Bowers, federal death row. When Bowers broke into the Tree of Life synagogue on October 27, 2018, he defiled a house of worship by shooting everyone he could find with an AR-15 rifle. His murderous rampage was obviously driven by hatred for the religion. 11 people died that day. Another 7 people were wounded, including 5 police officers. Bowers repeatedly expressed his contempt of Jews on social media, utilizing a far-right affiliated forum to post derogatory remarks about them 400 times. He also maintained his pride in having killed Jews. The legal team for Bowers has argued that their client suffers from schizophrenia, a brain illness marked by hallucinations, and that Bowers' attack on the synagogue was motivated by a mistaken notion that by aiding immigrants and refugees, Jews were complicit in the genocide of white people. Julio Salazar, Arizona. When guards arrived at the basketball enclosure on August 16, 2014, they discovered 53-year-old prisoner Lino Flores face up in a bloody puddle. Julio Salazar, an inmate, was recognized as the culprit, who was also within the basketball enclosure and had blood on his socks and shoes. The event was caught on camera by one of the security cameras. Before Salazar arrived, another prisoner is shown on camera putting a shank inside the water cooler in the basketball area. Salazar is seen taking the object out of the cooler and launching a vicious attack on Flores, stabbing him in the body and head while he was playing basketball. In addition, Salazar put Flores in a chokehold. He kicked and punched and repeatedly stomped on his head while he was on the ground. Finally, he seized the prison-made weapon and stabbed the victim in the forehead. Salazar stepped on Flores' face with his entire weight as the attack came to an end. Salazar can be seen dancing around the enclosure in the video. Investigators concluded that within the course of 47 minutes, Flores had been stabbed and stomped hundreds of times. Among other injuries, an autopsy revealed the victim had a cracked larynx, broken ribs, and a crushed head. The autopsy physician observed that the victim's body was in condition comparable to that of a person involved in a motor vehicle accident. Among Salazar's grave previous transgressions were an attempted murder of an Arizona correctional officer in 2007 and manslaughter from 2000. November. Waizisa the town Buckman, North Carolina. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this name. In just 2.5 hours, a jury found 36-year-old Buckman guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder and 10 other felonies related to his involvement in an attempted escape at Elizabeth City's Pasquotank Correctional Institution in 2017. 4 state prison employees, maintenance technician Geoffrey Ho, correctional officers Veronica Darden, Wendy Shannon, and Justin Smith were murdered, as well as roughly a dozen other state officials and prisoners were injured during that escape attempt. That was the bloodiest escape attempt in the history of North Carolina. 4 prisoners have charges related to this event, including Buckman. In 2019, Michael Edward Brady II went on trial and was found guilty on 4 counts of first-degree murder, as well as other charges related to his involvement in the incident. Jonathan Monk and Seth Frazier have not yet gone to trial. Salvador Vasquez Oliva, California. Vasquez Oliva was found guilty of the murders of his spouse, Angelique Vasquez, and their 2 children, Alvin and Mia. He killed his 45-year-old wife, Angelique, and their 2 children, 14-year-old daughter Mia and 11-year-old son Alvin, by beating them with a bat. In March 2017, he also killed his 21-year-old niece Ashley Coleman at the family's 35th Avenue residence. Following a request for a welfare check by family members, the victims were discovered inside the Southland Park residence. Within hours of the 4 family members' deaths, Vasquez Oliva was apprehended in the Bay Area. The children's love of sports, Mia for soccer and younger Alvin for basketball, was well known to their neighbors. Angelique was an amiable face within the state's Employment Development Department. She had been working there for 11 years as a personnel technician. Vasquez Oliva had worked for the state for over 10 years when the murders occurred. Tapero Corleone Johnson, Alabama. On June 2, 2020, Johnson ambushed Lieutenant Stephen Williams after luring police to a motel south of Birmingham. Williams knocked on the door, and Johnson, who was 31 at the time, shot through it more than 40 times, striking and killing the policeman. During Johnson's sentence, one of Williams' letters was read aloud during the victim impact statement section. Williams wrote letters and poems in his free time, and this particular one was addressed to anybody who would consider hurting a law enforcement official. Johnson reported that 4 males were attempting to break into his Super 8 motel room when he called the Moody Police Department. There were no men outside, according to the video. Prosecutors alleged that he fired 43 shots from 4 different guns. The incident took place a few days after George Floyd was killed in Minnesota by police, sparking widespread demonstrations and public outrage. Johnson never disclosed the reason behind shooting Williams. He apologized and said the gunshot was an accident. Nobody was sentenced to death in the month of December. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.